The morning light drifts lazily through half-open blinds, painting soft stripes of gold across the floor. You sit at the edge of your bed, fingertips tracing the fabric of your blanket, and wonder why the thought of another conversation feels heavier than the weight of your own body. It isn't that you dislike people. You catch yourself correcting that thought every time it rises. It's that every interaction, every shared laugh, every tiny expectation, tugs at a part of you that never seems to refill on its own. You are simply drained, a reservoir slowly emptied by the world's unending motion. Your mind whispers it softly, almost like a secret, "I need space." But the world rarely waits, and you've grown adept at masking the quiet pleas of your nervous system. Psychology calls it emotional exhaustion. Science would point to the amygdala, the overactive alert system that flares when social cues become burdensome. The prefrontal cortex strains to negotiate rules, etiquette, and hidden expectations while your parasympathetic system, the one that craves rest, can barely whisper beneath the noise. You feel tension coil in your shoulders as your own body tells a story you've long ignored. Some days, it's subtle, a muted irritation, a desire to withdraw, a sigh that escapes before anyone notices. Other days, it hits harder, a sudden craving for silence so urgent it borders on fear. You've learned to laugh it off, to call it just a mood. But beneath the surface, your mind is cataloging every interaction, every sensory input, every unspoken obligation. There is a science to this, a rhythm that is not broken, only misaligned with a world that assumes perpetual energy and availability. You remember the last time you left a gathering early. The streets were wet from rain, and the city smelled like damp concrete and warmth. You had smiled, nodded, laughed at the right moments, yet inside, your chest ached with a soft, hollow fatigue. Your mind, trained by years of socialization, tried to apologize for itself. But there was no malice in your departure, no contempt for those lingering in conversation, only the need to protect what little energy remained. Cognitive psychologists call this ego depletion, the theory that self-control is a finite resource. Your energy isn't infinite, and when it fades, it isn't weakness, it is biology. The world often mistakes this depletion for aloofness, for arrogance, for dislike. But those labels are projections, mirrors reflecting society's discomfort with boundaries. You aren't rejecting anyone. You are negotiating a contract with your own nervous system, one that demands rest before more can be given. It's a conversation you have in whispers with yourself, in the gentle exhale of a deep breath, in the tiny ritual of making tea and listening to its steam rise. Science shows that these small acts, mindful pauses, sensory rituals, intentional solitude, stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of you that restores, that recalibrates, that remembers how to breathe when overstimulation threatens to overwhelm. You walk through the streets now, past the hum of traffic and the chatter spilling from cafes. Faces brush past, strangers who carry their own invisible loads, their own depletion. You notice the empathy that blooms quietly within you, the tender recognition of others' humanity, their vulnerabilities. Social psychology calls it empathic accuracy, the ability to intuitively sense emotions in others. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a lens, a tool, a way of interacting with a world that demands care. And it is precisely what leaves you so drained. Each smile you return, each nod of understanding, each careful word spoken is an act of emotional expenditure, a currency spent that must be replenished in private, sacred moments. You stop at a bench under the amber glow of a street lamp, the air crisp, scented faintly with fallen leaves. A memory surfaces, a friend asking why you seem distant, why you often decline invitations, why your presence sometimes feels like a rare gift rather than a gift. You wanted to explain, to articulate the invisible exhaustion that wraps around you like a soft shroud. But words failed you, not because you lacked the courage to speak, but because language is often too blunt for the tender intricacies of the nervous system. Psychology names this as alexithymia in its extreme form, a difficulty identifying and expressing feelings, but yours is subtler. You know your emotions. They simply operate in frequencies the world struggles to tune into. The science of introversion offers solace. Your neurological wiring favors depth over breadth, reflection over constant social exchange. Dopamine pathways respond differently in your brain, making overstimulation more intense, and quiet moments more restorative. Carl Jung might call it an inner sanctuary, a retreat not from humanity but into it, a necessary balance between outer engagement and inner alignment. You do not hate people. You honor the limits of your own system. You recall the comfort of familiar spaces, a quiet corner of a library, the dim light of a room with soft music, a journal filled with half-formed thoughts. These refuges are not escapism but restoration, the gentle science of homeostasis at work. Psychologists note that emotional regulation isn't a matter of suppressing feeling but of channeling and replenishing it. You are practicing this every time you choose solitude without guilt, every time you allow your body to sink into calm. At times, the world will misunderstand. There will be questions, gentle or sharp, about your seeming absence, about your quietness in social arenas. You will hear, "Why don't you join more?" Or, "Are you upset with me?" And still, the truth remains. You are not rejecting anyone. You are preserving the parts of yourself that must remain intact to feel fully human, fully capable of compassion, fully present when you do choose to engage. Empathy is not an infinite reservoir. It is a resource, carefully tended. You notice your own triggers now. Subtle patterns previously invisible. Crowds, prolonged small talk, unspoken expectations, overcommitments, they each chip away at your reserve. Neuroscience reveals that overstimulation elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, creating a cascade of fatigue that can feel like irritability or detachment. The more attuned you become, the earlier you detect these signs. A twitch in your jaw, a tightness in your chest, a fleeting sense of impatience. Recognition itself is healing. Awareness signals the brain to prepare for regulation. Your steps lead you to a quiet park, dew glinting on the grass, and the hush of early evening settles like a soft blanket. You watch children chasing one another in erratic joy, strangers walking dogs, couples leaning into each other's warmth. You feel both connected and separate, a paradox of presence and self-preservation. This is the heart of emotional intelligence. Noticing, feeling, and understanding without being consumed. You practice it quietly, a meditation in motion. A gentle science threads through your reflection. The concept of self-compassion. Kristin Neff's research teaches that treating oneself with the kindness afforded to a friend alleviates shame, reduces stress, and cultivates resilience. You whisper to yourself, "It's okay to need rest. It's okay to step back. It's okay to be human." The words feel strange at first, then natural, then essential. You are learning the quiet art of permission. Permission to honor your limits, to nurture your nervous system, to meet life in measured conscious doses. Evenings like this, when the world softens and the mind slows, you become aware of your own rhythms. There is a pulse, gentle but persistent, a reminder that fatigue is not failure. Social psychologist Susan Cain would remind you. Introversion is strength, and the world benefits from your reflection, your careful observation, your deep care. Each act of withdrawal is not rejection but preparation, a private cultivation of energy that, when returned, allows for authenticity and depth. You breathe, slow and intentional, and feel the subtle release of tension. You imagine the neurons firing, the amygdala softening, the prefrontal cortex regaining composure, and the parasympathetic system cradling your body in warmth. You are a living system, delicate and robust, fragile and resilient. Every time you honor your needs, you teach the brain, the body, and the heart how to thrive, even in a world that often demands more than it gives. The memory of laughter from earlier today drifts in, and you smile softly. Not at the people themselves, but at the realization that love, care, and connection are not obligations. They are choices, tenderly navigated within the limits of your energy. Psychology reminds us that boundaries are not barriers. They are frameworks that sustain meaningful interaction. You have been learning to erect them gently, consciously, with a soft insistence that your well-being matters. Night falls, and the city exhales. Lights blink on in apartment windows, cars hum in the distance, and somewhere nearby, someone is whispering to a friend on the phone. You imagine their energy, their joys and depletions, and feel a thread of connection without the weight of direct interaction. Compassion expands quietly, a gentle counterpoint to the fatigue that still lingers. You have space for empathy, precisely because you have space for yourself. As you walk home, your steps slow, unhurried, and your mind moves into reflection. The neuroscience of rest, the psychology of introversion, the tender truths of human connection, they weave together, forming a tapestry that makes sense of what previously felt like confusion or guilt. You realize being drained is not failure, nor is it dislike. It is proof of sensitivity, proof of care, proof of being human. And in that recognition, there is relief, a soft, cinematic clarity. You return to your apartment, dim lights welcoming, and pour a cup of tea, steam curling like soft smoke in the golden light. You settle into your favorite chair, blanket over knees, journal open. You write not to explain, not to justify, but to witness. The exhaustion, the boundaries, the small victories of presence without depletion. Each word is a balm, a gentle acknowledgement of yourself as a system, as a mind, as a soul. Tomorrow, there will be people, obligations, and noise. But tonight, there is you, your body, your mind, your nervous system. Tonight, there is restoration, slow and tender. You don't hate people. You don't resent the connection. You are simply learning the art of presence. When to engage, when to step back, and how to love both the world and you without draining the delicate wellspring that makes it all possible. And as sleep edges closer, soft and inevitable, you carry this awareness. Your mind is not a problem to solve. It is a living, breathing instrument, and you are learning to play it with care, with patience, with gentleness. You don't hate people. You are not broken. You are human, sensitive, and entirely worthy of the rest that restores you.